Hey folks, this is Ben Gessel. As promised, I am going over my notes from uh, Elder David A. Bednar's devotional tonight. And if you're LDS, great. If you're not, you might find this still to be very interesting. But of course, much of what I'll be talking about isn't just the devotional. It's many other things as well. And it's totally okay if you cannot read what I wrote. When I was writing all this stuff, I was not trying to be super neat with my handwriting. So my apologies in advance, but I'll be especially clear of speech, so you can hear each of these thoughts that I mentioned before are a little bit, frankly, negative. You might think that I'm going in the anti-Mormon direction with this. That's quite the opposite. Sorry to disappoint those of you who are anti-Mormon. Anyway, okay. So right off the bat, just like every other cheesy activity in my church, it's not just my church. A lot of other things involving wholesome activities, get-togethers. Yep, I had to make a lanyard, a thing with my name on it, and a little ribbon dealy wear on my neck. Something kind of like this. There's my name, the lanyard. And it actually is rather nice looking. I hope they didn't spend too much money on these guys. But I must say, it does look very nice. Nice blue color. So that was kind of cool. That was kind of cool. I'm not wearing that. They had to go there. They had to do that. Why? I don't know. There's many questions that you guys might have about my church more in a cultural regard. If you guys ever ask them, I'll try my best to answer them. But some things, honestly, are the epitome of cheesiness. Women's. Okay. Okay. My dork tag. It's my dork tag. Hi guys, I'm Ben Gessel. Okay. So, we got that all taken care of really quick. My initial observation of the crowd there that showed up for this stuff tonight. Probably less than, I personally knew less than 10% of the 33 to 34 single adults there. Probably only 3 to 4. And I knew mostly more of the oddballs, but other folks as well. Yeah. Back to the devotional. Elder Bednar is talking about Jesus teaching about baptism and priesthood ordinances. It's totally okay if you don't know what that means. Priesthood ordinances. An ordinance is just, again, it's as I mentioned before, an ordinance is an act that is something that involves, again, some kind of ceremony that's done on earth that has things that happen in heaven, or it's whatever is something recorded on earth that also is recorded in heaven, kind of deal. Via the priesthood, which is the power of God. That's what basically that means. Okay. So he's talking about this stuff, and I'm looking around myself, seeing how everybody is. The women there watching the devotional are mostly, my opinion, acting rather predictably. What do we mean by predictable? Well, this is is where things get a little bit negative, to be honest. Someone might say I should be looking right back at myself about a lot of the stuff I'll be saying. I'm just telling you guys my feelings here. Imperfect man that I am. Why am I singling out the woman? Sorry, I can't talk right now. Well, it's not really a negative thing. It's more just that some part of me knew what was going to happen. So again, the women are acting rather predictably in a Mormon way. Very USA, white European American Mormon way, which is more to the point, rather standoffish, snobby, etc. There's an extremely discouraging vibe that is kind of this collective, we're not attractive, we're not really hopeful about anything, we're just here because it's the right thing to do vibe. It was very evident that was the overall feeling there. Whether or not it was said or not, that was what was going on. Not outgoing, not outgoing, not friendly, only sitting by people they already knew. Why would I believe any differently about what to expect? Half the women are chubbier, half are slimmer. The men are, well, mostly feeling rather similarly. Albeit we probably are debatably better at not showing those emotions, perhaps. I don't know. To the best of my knowledge or intuition, etc., I have no idea why Elder Bednar is talking about what he's really talking about. That's not entirely true. It's more just how riveted I was about the subject matter, I suppose. Anyway, with regard to an event such as this, one, it's because this isn't the sort of thing that happens every day, or every week, etc., every other week, for that matter. I'd hate to think that the only reason some people are here is just to hear him talk. Rather discouraging thought. In some respects. Of course, it's more like several people talking about the priesthood and baptism. So Elder Bednar kind of opened up the discussion to some people, other people who are sitting by him. And I'll mention more about Elder Bednar in a bit as we go. It was nice to have him talk, in a way, because, as I mentioned a bit later, he reminds me so much of my own dad, and he is so not, well, he's very unselfish with his time and with everything. That's the best way of putting it, I guess. Very unselfish. He lets everybody talk that were there with him. Anyway. So, okay. So talking about the priesthood, baptism, and other related topics, priesthood blessings, etc. I do apologize if some of these terms are very unfamiliar to you guys. Baptism is probably a bit more well known. We do baptism by immersion. We have all kinds of priesthood blessings, and from healing of the sick, afflicted to, a lot of stuff. Okay. Elder Bednar is quite conversational. I mean, really. I couldn't find it in myself to be remotely critical of him and what he was talking about. Priesthood blessings, etc. It really isn't about all that. It's about how everyone here is or was. Let me say was because this happened previously tonight. Here was. People were depressed. People were cautious. People were standoffish. The same nonsense I've experienced more or less my entire life. So many times with LDS peers in particular, etc. And you would think that some would be friendlier. I guess in Hawaii or Utah, etc. The women, overly perfumed. Just like so many times before. No sense of any real connection with any of the women so far. All are looking down, only watching the devotional, etc. On that note, there were some women that were really trying to be nice and polite. Actually, most were really trying. It was evident to me, it was clearly evident to anybody who has an IQ over 90, that there was an air of depression in the room. Unmistakable. The elephant in the room, I guess. Why? Why does it always have to be that way? It was that way even when I was younger. Single sports. Always. I mentioned that I'm supposed to be interested in these women. Elder Bednar sounds exactly like my dad, to be honest. He did. He does sound like my dad. Which, more to the point, is something along the following lines. The way he clears his throat, his height, even, hair color, his mannerisms, his kindly demeanor, the fact that he's a business graduate from Purdue. My dad knew him. They were friends at Purdue. When I was a baby, Elder Bednar was one of the elders that actually blessed me. So yeah, that's a very real thing. So I really do have a deep love for Elder Bednar. I could tell you more about that stuff, but it would be impossible for me to speak ill will of him. It's not in my heart to do that. It's more what's going on in my heart, what I'm trying to explain here. As you can readily see here. Okay, I've never expected much via prayer to God, etc. It's really out of my hands in so many respects. Instead of a talk or devotional that we watched, why not something more social? Because that makes everybody feel more awkward. Maybe it's nice to start out with something more like a devotional and then something more social. Maybe it'll help people open up more. And of course, people planning it were precisely right. But I'm telling myself, we're all grown adults. What's the problem here? Well, the problem is, again, who's there? You want to get married at some point? Sure, just like everybody else. We don't want to just have to keep bumping into people that we are sick and tired of. Mildly nonplussed by some of the subject matter. Sure, I've already mentioned that. Very nonplussed about the vibe here. Feels like a freaking funeral. Every single Sunday for years, so little human interaction. Do half the people in this room actually feel confident or willing to talk to other people? And I really especially mean real conversation, not the small talk. Small talk is worthless, folks. And if you want to know if I really have any German ancestry, that's the way you know. I do have German ancestry and Asperger's at the same time. So do not do small talk. At all. At all. Always resented that element of... I'm calling out Britain and England in particular for this obsession with small talk. That element of my church. That's where it comes from. It's definitely not German. It definitely is British. There's no doubt about it. I love England. Why would I say that about England? Because I can't stand that about English culture. It's obsession with being polite. It's like there's a contest to be the most likable people in the entire world. Seriously. Yeah. Okay. Not just the women being willing to talk to other people, but the men also. Do half the people in this room even care that I'm even here? Is that why so few people are here? Because they think that nobody will care if they're not there. Because LDS singles can be so insanely unfriendly. At least the white LDS folks in Western Washington. Probably many others as well. Calling out white. Trust me on this one, folks. No one wants to spend time around annoying, unfriendly, judgmental, unusually timid, unusually socially anxious people. Maybe some of those qualities are a bit more likable than others. But annoying and unfriendly and judgmental are not qualities anyone looks for in anyone. Period. Oh, but I'm being so judgmental, and I'm being so... This is years and years and years of this stuff, folks. Years. The least judgmental person that I know of would still feel the way I feel on some level. After years. Of just being in this element. No one wants to spend time around... Okay, I mentioned that. No one honestly wants a broadcasted devotional interfering with real human connections. No one. I don't think Elder Bednar was intending to interfere. But in the interest of just, well, what's this all about? Well, you might think it's two things, spiritual and social. Well, aren't they all connected in any way? If one thing was more important than the other, what would be more important? Oh, we'd say spiritual because we want to be good and righteous, right? You know, when someone becomes happier socially, what will inevitably follow is also being more righteous. When someone's trying to be more righteous, better person, but the socializing is not really happening. Oh, man. Okay. Gluttons for punishment there. And no one wants to go to anything where no one is there. So the fewer the people that are there at any event, this is any event for LDS singles, any singles anywhere. The fewer the people that are there, the more that and it's just the knuckleheads more than it's just a lot of people are. There are people that are LDS that could tell you guys hundreds of times more of what is going on with this experience than I am doing right now. This is something that is so commonly encountered and experienced. All the stuff I'm talking about is like well, it's some things are a little bit LDS-y, Mormon-y. Some things are just everybody. I mean, you know. Okay. Flipping over the page. They are talking a lot about a lot of doctrinal covenant related stuff. A covenant is just a promise you make between you and God. That's what it means. But it's a lot more serious than a promise. Okay. It's a big deal. It's rather stuffy. It feels a little stuffy. Right, of course it does. So I've had similar sentiments before, similar feelings that I've had when I'm watching stuff like this. Yep. There's also a lot of stuff about sacrament ordinances. What does breaking of the bread mean? Oh, in a way, it's therapeutic to actually think about this stuff. Try to get yourself away from this, oh, wow, kind of, who's actually here kind of train of thought. Majority of guys here. Great thinking. Slight majority. If the slender woman, if the more slender women are aloof tonight, or tomorrow, etc., just another stone in the bucket of what the chubby woman, regarding chubbier women, some kind of okay looking, some less so maybe, I don't know, it's completely up to the person. Maybe you guys can tell me this. It's just, I've never really asked myself this question before, but why do otherwise okay looking women, they're not ugly, but why do women form these, some women get these arms that are a little bit saggy, and even in not too old of years? Why does that happen? Do I find that unattractive, or do I find that okay, or is that attractive? It's not that big of a thing, but I really didn't intend to marry a woman with saggy arms. But if a woman can't really help it, anyway, I don't know. It's like, why do some people have double chins like myself? I don't know. Maybe that's not a big deal. I don't know. I don't want anyone making too much of the talk. It's, I don't know. And actually, this is a good thing. People didn't. Nobody was really talking about that talk so much. That was at least one of the things I have written down that I was actually pretty happy with. It's, I don't know. It often runs in shallow waters. My experience with my LDS peers countless times. What I'm referring to is stuff that kind of helps people break the ice. If you're just watching a devotional and then you're trying to break the ice with someone you don't know and you start talking about the devotional, what's the person going to do? Well, most LDS folks would probably be at least kind of nice. Kind of. But emphasis on kind of. It's just, but everybody knows that it's just a way to start talking to people. I don't know. It's not that big of a thing. Nobody's unkind. I mean, you can probably get more unkind people outside of my church in the respects. I don't know. More unprincipled folks. What? had to endure that whole thing, and now you want to talk about it some more? This is very much something I've heard before as well. I just don't do it. Unless... It all depends, I guess. But I don't know. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't like there was no potential gals to meet. Rather, it was much more of a question of apparent interest that they have in meeting guys like myself, perhaps. Again, we're numbering less than 40. Why? Again, who wants to spend time with people who are not enjoyable to be around? I'm not breaking a sweat to introduce myself with this crowd. A few exceptions with a few women, maybe. I wondered if this or that person was going to be there tonight. Sure. I can't say I was looking forward to... I don't know. It was never really negative. There was maybe a feeling of wanting to talk to one girl again, but yeah. I don't find that I'm really very attracted to women that are kind of mean and kind of snippy, kind of critical. That isn't the sort of woman I truly find more beautiful and attractive. One of my aunts called me on this one time. She said to me, "Oh, I know what kind of woman you want, Ben. You want to date or marry a woman that's lets you do whatever you want to do, or something. Someone extremely type B, or someone very passive." And she was upset with me, and I understand where she was coming from. And I think I said something along. I was a bit more consoling, or I did not take offense. I remember I did not take offense. I did not get upset. She was upset with me for some reason. How can I put this? Because this is kind of a different train of thought, but it's... I know I'm getting a little bit to the half-hour mark. I tried to not go over the half-hour mark, but I might do a part 2 in a second. But in my family growing up, my parents kind of ran a tight ship. They were very organized and disciplined and all that good stuff. So my uncle and aunt, right? This particular uncle and aunt were rather similar. And I think I was maybe just a teensy bit on the lazy side when I was staying at their home one summer. So that was that whole thing. And maybe my Aunt Barbara wanted me to be... I don't know. But she apologized. But I told her, I was like, you know what? It's true. There are some women, some personalities that I prefer being around much more than others. I cannot marry somebody who I can't stand being around or who I'd rather not be around. When you love somebody, you want to be around that person as much as you can. You might need an occasional break or two, but that break is really... It's like almost like a half a day tops. Your wife is going to be desperate for you and be desperate for her. If it's not the case, then you guys aren't really in love, and why be married? That's always been my train of thought, and I've definitely stuck to that, for better or for worse. Why would, I just, and I'm like, being aware of this stuff, sometimes, you go through sometimes years with forgetting some of the stuff, or not really forgetting it, but it's really healthy to be reminded of these certain things that you're looking for in women. And because they matter. Yeah. What's the point of getting married if you're just going to get divorced? Some other young women have told me similar feelings about the subject before. They're LDS, at least one. She was rather tactless about it, but it could have been worse. It wasn't anything personal, of course. I knew it wasn't personal. Some people are afraid of getting married because they're afraid of getting divorced. That's just a universal thing. It's a very universal thing. A lot of women just never, they don't. It's so rare when you have a woman that actually shows real interest in a man that way and wants to get married. It's usually the other way around. It's usually the guy. I don't know why women are the way they are. It's another one of these things. I can try all my best I can. I can try to yell all I want about the way women are, but it doesn't change how they are. It doesn't change the way that they tend to be. And hopefully there's some that I click with. Anyway, I'll try to make another video here in a bit. Catch you later. Take care.